Hi everyone, Dean Matters here. Today I'm doing a snare drum rewrap and I'll be turning this into this. Here we are to rewrap this snare drum, 12 by 6. It's already got a screw rolling around inside it at the moment. Not happy with this wrap, so I'm going to put this wrap on that I purchased for the job. So it should be the right depth already, but let's see if I can take it out. Alright. This is going to be a black sparkle wrap. So, not sure here. That's what we're going to end up with. Now, I've never done this before, so I'm going to be learning as I go. I'll put that aside. So the first step, I'm going to take all the heads off and all the hardware, the strainer. So a few tools that I'm going to need. So keys to get the tension rods out, screwdriver to get the hardware off the sides, the lugs, and then I'm going to need some sort of kind of bolt device to take off the strainer from the inside, because that's got bolts on the inside. So I'm not sure what size that is yet. I'll find out that when I get to it. When I put the wrap on, I'm going to use this double-sided tape. So it's going to be the easy method, just double-sided tape it on. So here we go, let's start taking it all apart. Alright, so this is the bit where I need to find out what size these the nuts are on this side for the strainer. So, yeah, I got lucky. First go. 5/16. So it's probably millimetre, but imperial is going to work. So if it can get down there, yep, that's fine. So 5/16 works. Alright, so that's it. Take the grommet off for the strainer. That's it. So we're back to a shell and we're going to peel off this contact. I don't know how well it's going to come off, but might need to use a heat gun and peel it all off. So we'll see. Just get started on the edge. Might do this one side. We'll see how well it peels off on the wood, or else I might need to heat it up. I'm just using my nails to get underneath to peel it back. right, that'll do. So the next step would be just sizing up the new wrap onto the shell. So I'll just put it around just to get an idea. All right, so that's looking good. So it's already cut to the correct depth, but the length needs to be, I need to find the correct length. So let's pull it around as tight as possible. It's quite a thick wrap. It's a proper drum wrap. I'll put the link where I got this from in Australia in the description. At this point I decided I wasn't going to oil the inside of the shell, but while I did that I wrapped the wrap inside the box in the opposite direction and left it in the sun so it would create a memory of it wrapping around the shell instead of wanting to go in the opposite direction. You'll see next time I put it around the shell it will wrap around a little easier. So with oiling the shell, obviously I'm outside, got my overalls on, there goes a dog. First step was just to kind of take off a little bit of, if there's any debris or anything inside the shell, just to smooth it off a little bit with a nylon scourer. It was already pretty smooth, so I didn't really need to sand it. So just knocking the top off anything that's just still remaining there. And then the type of oil I used was a gun stock oil, with the type of oil that they put on the wooden handle parts of rifles and things like that. So it was a really kind of thick kind of oil, which you'll see in a second. Yeah, it's just a quicker way of getting a decent coat instead of using something thin. And this particular oil, you put it on and you rub it in with a rag. That's it there. So it's Birchwood Casey True Oil, gun stock finish. So yeah, just make sure it's all rubbed into the grain as best you can. You let it dry. It says to let it dry for 2 hours, but this day was a 35-degree day in Australia, and I just left it for an hour and it was completely dry. After an hour, you will see I'll come back and I will polish it with some steel wool, and then I repeated the process 3 times in a row. So I just built up 3 layers of oil with polishing it with steel wool in between it each time. While that last coat was drying, I decided to polish all the hardware, so I went back inside and started to clean everything up. I need to take all the tension rods out. I'm going to replace all these black washers as well. They're not very good quality, so I'll take all them off. Alright, so there's a bit of grime on the hoops. Not sure if you can see. They just need to be cleaned and polished up a bit. But there's also a bit of rust underneath as well. So it's little spots like that, if it will focus. Just here. So I'm going to take that off with some steel wool. So there's a few little areas here. There's a spot there. No, sorry, not steel wool, with aluminium foil. So got a sheet of aluminium foil, scrunch it up, and then wherever there's a little spot, I'm just going to rub that on that spot there. So there's a spot just here. Just knock the top off a little bit, and that's generally soft enough to not scratch the hoop too much. So you don't want to be too aggressive with it. Everyone's got different methods of getting rid of rust spots like that, but that's coming off pretty good. Especially that it's on the inside of the hoop. You won't see any little lines that it might leave there. And so I'll just keep going around and I'll hit all the little spots with that. Now I'm going to give them a polish with this Mother's Chrome polish, which is pretty amazing stuff. So any chrome for automotive purposes, but on hoops it's amazing. So right. And now, before we put it all together, I'm just going to give the lugs a bit of a polish. And the snare mechanism now, so that's pretty dirty. Lots of dust. Probably sawdust from sticks and clean. Okay, so next step, wrapping the drum. This is really what it's all about. I've never done this before, so I'm going to learn as I go. I've watched a few other YouTube tutorials on how to do this, but every other one I've seen, the wrap is not as thick as this, so I think this is going to be quite hard to do. Now, I did leave this wrap wound in the correct way that it fits the shell. I left this in the sun to warm it up, and hopefully it's created a memory to help it stay in round. So we'll see what happens when I take it out. But it was delivered the opposite way around, wound up in the opposite direction, I should say. So I'll try and get it out. Maybe the other direction. Okay. All right, yes. So that's what I meant, to try and create that shape. I wound it in that direction, left it in the sun. So it will hopefully help me when I wrap it on, make it stay on. So now I'm just got to work out what I think is probably the best way to do this. Now there's a protective film on the outside of this here, so it tries to minimize the scratches on it. I'm going to have to take that off now because I'm going to put the lugs on pretty much as I go. But the first thing I'll do before I do that is get the actual length that I want. So I'll cut it generally to the correct length that I'm going to need. So I'm just wrapping it around. I can see the end of it down here, underneath here. And what I'm going to do is make it overlap the second piece by about 2 widths of this double-sided tape. So I'm going to put 2 on. I might not need to. Actually, 1. I'm just going to do 1 because what's holding this wrap on are the lugs. The lugs are going to be pushing the wrap onto the shell after they're on. So that's the thing that's mostly holding this wrap on is the lugs. So I'm just going to overlap it by about that thickness. So once I've got that, I'm going to mark it and then I'm going to cut it. As tight as I can. Doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. I can see it overlapping here. And about the thickness of that tape is, I'll allow a little bit more right there. So I'm going to cut it. And out the way. This is going to be interesting to cut too. So there's my mark there. Got a square it up, put a mark right across it. I'm going to use a scalpel. So we'll see if that will make its way through. I'll use this as my straight edge. And I'll try not to cut any fingers off as I go. So it is going to be a challenge to do this. In fact, what I might do is clamp down. I've got some clamps here, some of these spring clamps. So I might clamp the wrap down to this piece of cardboard that I've got underneath, just to hold it still, because I can. All just got one end on there, so it's just going to help a little bit while I run the scalpel across it. Alright, so squares on. So run it through a few times now. I can crack it a little bit, I can hear. Yeah. Okay, hear that crack. So crack through, and I think I'll just have to run it through again to cut the backing. I think at this point, the Stanley knife might just finish that off. We are through. Alright, so we finally have it to length. A few little jaggy pieces on the end. Should be fine. Okay. Alright, so even if the end, you can see how the backings come off a little bit, that end can be covered by the good end. So the good end overlaps the not so good end on the strainer side. And so you can put it wherever you want, but I would recommend that you do secure it with at least 2 bolts, either the throw off with 2 bolts if it's got two bolts, or your lug has got 2 bolts. So that would be a good way of helping it join together securely as well. So that's just so now that I can see this, now I can grab the shell. I've got to work out where the strainer goes in the shell, and it is right there, those 2 vertical holes. So that is my position. All right. And next step, I'm going to pull the covering off, and I'm going to put the double-sided tape on the side that goes under the outer when it overlaps. I'm going to put it on here. Here we go for the actual wrapping part. So we start with the bottom part coming around, the underside will be overlapping where the snare strainer is. Top part over the top. Now we need to just see, I might need to see how I've put the tape on a little bit too far out. So I need to put another piece of tape on a little bit further in so it disguises it. So it is clear and you probably wouldn't see it too much, but I'm going to do it again because I've got plenty of tape. Okay. So the red part is the backing to take off when the other part sticks on top of it. Alright, at this point you need a lot of these small clamps, these small plastic clamps with the plastic teeth in them, just so it won't mark the shell or the wrap. And so the bottom part is going to come round to where the strainer is. And this part, take your time and get it all extremely even, top and bottom, as square as possible with no, okay, see how there's no red now showing? All right, so we need to make it even, top and bottom, and as square as possible, and with no wrinkles. So take your time, just keep going around. Put some clamps on the bottom side. Once you think it's in the right position, let's start at the bottom again. Okay, so if we just try and get it as even, top and bottom, there's the snare beds here, so that's deceiving. So it goes smaller here, so look more to the side. Okay, just double check that that joint is over the top of where I want the strainer to go. So you can see this is just a lot of fiddling backwards and forwards to get things right. So just take your time. So I need to go that way a little bit more. And just even it up. Keep going around. Once you feel like you've got this side pretty close, clamp it. Okay, so I'm just pushing as I go around and just getting this side as even as this side. And that is about right. So I'm going to put another clamp on the other side just to help hold it, and I'll just go around again and check it again. So I think it needs to go down a little bit. Just force it over a little bit and keep pushing, because that's going to cause a bubble. So you can see it's just out here. It's away from the shell. Keep pushing. Snare bed, so it's gone down lower. And we're a little bit too far down, so just push it across a little bit. Okay, see there's a bubble out here, so if I take that clamp off, see it released it, back in. Okay, go around again. I'm just checking it's all against the shell. There's no gaps. And I think that's about right. So at this point, this is where you would double stick, take the other side of the tape off and stick that down, and maybe a couple extra clamps just to hold it in position, and then we're going to start putting the lugs on. So peel that tape off. Double check that there's no real gaps. No, looks good. Okay, clamp it down. That's it. It is on, and hopefully right. Alright. Let's put a couple of clamps on that joint just to help it set the tape. And now put another clamp on the other side just to hold it in position. And now we can start cutting out the holes. We are up to now piercing through to start cutting out the holes and putting the lugs on. The lugs are the thing that's going to hold this wrap in permanent position. So we're going to start at where the wrap goes underneath, the first lug on that side. So we're going to put them on in that progression. So if there's any leftover slack in the wrap, it'll keep getting pushed around in that direction. So I'm going to start piercing through and cutting out the with a very small craft knife or X-Acto knife, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to pierce through from the inside the holes of that first lug. I'm going to use, might just grab a bit of rag, and that's going to help just put some pressure on the other side of the wrap as I pierce through. So I'm going to pierce through that hole there first. Alright, so I'm going to go from the inside out just in case you can't see it on camera. Try and put it in position. So I'm going to hold the rag on this side and pierce through from the other side. And the piercing will just give me a point of reference to cut it out from the other side. So roughly center, and so I don't stab my hand. That's why I've got the rag on the other side and just giving it a wiggle. I'm going to keep doing that. I'll cut out all of one and I'll put a lug on. So here we go. Okay, so from the outside, pierce through these 2 points here. There. And so I'm going to cut from the outside in now. I'm going to try and cut out these holes. And I think I'll need a bigger knife. I'm going to try and just see if I can get a drill through there, see if that's any quicker. It's almost like it's turning to powder as I'm trying to cut it. This is a very thick wrap, so because it's sparkle, I think it's made quite differently. So, all right, so I've got a drill bit here, which is I think 6mm. Because I've started that hole, I think it might be safe to try and get that through. So if I get it to that point and then kind of grind it out with this drill, I won't push very hard. because I don't want to move the wrap. So it's quite dangerous to do this. I could stuff it up. See what happens. Wow, that was easy. Hardly pushed at all. Bit of a burr. So I might just get a bigger drill bit, deburr that hole, done. I think that's the key. Open it up a little bit and then drill from the outside. So a bit of a trick that I've learnt is you get a bigger drill bit to take the burrs off the top of any hole and then just push it around and just chops off the burrs. Smooth. Alright, so now I can put one lug in. Hopefully. Holes are a little bit tight. Yep, but it's in. That's alright, it's good. Okay, and that makes me more confident that it's holding the wrap in position now. So, screws on the inside, just to hold that lug on. Alright, and just keep on going. Alright, so we're up to the strainer on through a double layer of this wrapping. So it'd be interesting to see how I go drilling through two layers. So this could be a bit dangerous, as in not dangerous physically, but I could stuff this up. We'll see. And alright, one more. Get the gaskets and make sure I put it on the right way. I think I'll wait. I've got one more hole to do, which is for the air vent over this side. It's quite a big hole in there, so I might have to drill it as big as I can and then file it. Alright, it's close. I'll just file it the rest of the way, it shouldn't take too long. Done. Clean it all off. Looking great. Right. Hard bit's over. And we just need to put the strainer on, the butt on, and the heads and the hoops. So here we are, we're about to put the strainer on that side and the butt end on that side. So I'll put the strainer on first. Make sure when you're doing this that you work out what's the bottom and what's the top. Alright, so just look for where the snare beds are. That's the bottom. Alright, at this point I'm going to put the heads back on, and instead of putting these crap things that weren't doing very much, these washers, instead of putting them under the tension rods, I'm going to use these Hendrix Drums sleeved washers. So these isolate the tension rod from the hoop a little bit better, because it's got a sleeve on the bottom edge of it. So I'm just going to upgrade it with those, and another upgrade, instead of putting the old vent back in, I'm going to put one of these. These are on the Net Classic drums. These are an adjustable vent, so you can adjust how much air comes through to change the feel of the drum. So I'm just going to see what that's like. I can always change it back to that if I want to. It's very easy. It's just a nut on the back. So just a few upgrades and putting it back together. Whoops. Guess what I forgot to do? Put the vent in. There you have it. Done. I think it turned out pretty nice. Thanks for watching the video today. If you have any comments or questions, please leave it below and I'll try and respond as soon as I can. I hope that my video helped you in whatever snare drum project you're trying to achieve. I did go the extra bit and oil the inside of the shell, so it's not just a rewrap, it is something's more of a complete restoration. You could probably do it to a lot of different drums if you wanted to. So again, thank you for watching, and please subscribe. I really appreciate your support, and I hope to bring you some more interesting content in the future. So thanks for watching.